From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
And here we go. It is a special edition of the 50/50 Podcast, live from the TASCO, Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention, here in Moody Gardens in beautiful Galveston, Texas. And we are powered by our proud partners at College Promoters USA. College Promoters USA, located locally there in San Antonio, Texas. You can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center. You can also find them on social media, on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on what they're about on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. My next first guests from the convention here in Galveston, we are joined by the coaching staff, the head men's and women's soccer coaches at El Paso El Dorado High School, the Aztecs, Coach Saucedo and Coach Adriana, either one, I guess, right? Enriquez. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thanks. Feel free to bring the mics a little closer to you. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Well, hey, full disclosure, obviously, I feel great. I feel way better than what I sound. The voice is still kind of going through it, but sometimes, as we say, the great ones play injured, as they say, right, coaches? So we're pushing through. Excited to be here. Excited to have you all here. And of course, you have another El Paso boy moves to San Antonio, comes all the way to Galveston just to meet up with more El Paso people, right? So
it's always the case.
Awesome. So welcome. How's it going so far?
It's been great. Been enjoying the time here. Getting to talk to other people, learning new stuff.
Yeah,
it's been a good time.
Awesome. Audrey?
Yeah, it's been a great time getting the opportunity to get to know other coaches and learn new things and work together and collaborate with other coaches. It's been great. Great time so far.
Yeah. So, I mean, it literally just kicked off. First field session sounds like it's wrapping up with Coach Doug Elder. I know you all got to see the first 30, 40 minutes of that. What was that like?
Good approach to attacking and defending, being able to see it and look at, as a coach, you can kind of see where you would step in, and add a comment here and there.
Right.
But when you're in the back seat and watching somebody else coach a group of young boys, you sit there with your notebook and take it all in.
Yeah. How about you, Coach?
It was going well. The transition, learning how to transition, how to defend as a team, how to apply pressure, how they were moving, and the coaching tips and what he was going over. It helps all the athletes.
Yeah.
So we're able to see all that.
Right. And I know you guys mentioned it was a good turnout, right? Good crowd, people still coming in. Is it about what you all expected, or in terms of the turnout so far in that first session? What were your thoughts on that?
For me, being the first time out here at Galveston, I've done satellite clinics back in El Paso, and it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a real eye-opening on how big high school soccer is in Texas.
Right.
And the number of people out there is pretty amazing,
Yeah. How about you, Coach? I know you've been here before, right?
Actually, haven't. It's also the first time.
Is it really? Okay.
First time together here at the TASCO clinic, and it's a lot of people, and being able to see a lot of from around the entire Texas. I think that's pretty awesome to be able to collaborate and get to know people and build those relationships that we can carry, things that we learn from here and talking to other coaches of what works for their programs and what we can bring in for our programs. I think it's a great opportunity because there's so many people here from all over the state.
Yeah. And I know, so Coach Saucedo, you mentioned that a bit of an eye-opening experience, right? In terms of now you kind of get the bigger picture in terms of just how big it really is in terms of the sport across the state. was there a kind of a moment here, maybe in the last day or so, where it's hit you, or sometime today?
It's always been on paper, even
Mhm.
going into playoffs last season and talking to the boys, I forgot the number, but let's just say 230 teams right now are in by district.
Yeah.
Okay. Next round, cut that in half, and we talked numbers about the number of schools at that time, 5A, and talking to the boys and letting them know, there's this many less people waking up this morning to train.
Right.
So to see the actual coaches side, and then it's not just a paper number anymore. It's, these people. And that was what really took me back there. I was like, wow, this is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Coach?
No, just like Coach was saying, just, seeing the number of coaches.
Mhm.
So you're seeing like so many people here, so many coaches here, all willing to learn and make our kids better, because that's our primary goal,
Right,
to
right.
help our athletes and soccer players like grow. And seeing everybody here getting that opportunity is just a great way to, for ourselves to grow soccer in this whole entire state of Texas, not just like our programs. Like everybody's here for the same common goal.
Yeah, and probably you can venture to say, maybe outside of, if we have a couple of people from maybe the Panhandle area, maybe nobody's probably traveled further than you all here, right? So, so in terms of getting that word out, right, to coaches across the state, all corners of the state, maybe particularly El Paso, trying to get more coaches out here, what would you say to them? The experience on why they why they need to be here.
It opens their eyes to what the El Paso style of play is, because it is its own unique style of play. It's going to show these coaches that there's more to the game, and there's more to learn from other coaches that you can apply. Not all of it, because most coaches are kind of, about their style. But when you can incorporate other pieces of other coaches' ideas, it's going to do is make you a more competitive team.
Coach?
Just like Coach was saying, I think it's important, especially us as a El Paso community, to be able to come out to opportunities like this, because the relationships that you build with everybody, like East Texas, we're by ourselves, like all the way in West Texas, and just have different perspectives of being able to communicate with coaches, talk to coaches, have the opportunity to learn from them, like what's working for them there, what can we install here, and being able to, like, we're one state, like it's have that gathering to be able to have those opportunities to work together, for our athletes. I think it's important for El Paso coaches to be here, and even though it's so far, the opportunity that you're going to get to be able to grow and develop and learn more and bring it back to El Paso, and we can get our players at a higher level and bring that aspects of what we're learning here. I think it will be a great opportunity for the El Paso coaches to take advantage of.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. And I got to experience that firsthand up close for 2 years, right? I know we got to coach against each other, and while I was there at Isleta, and it's definitely, it's great. It's a it's an incredible, it's kind of a sense of pride when you see coaches from all parts of the state here, right? So regardless of, doesn't matter, 6A, 5A, 4A, in all parts of the state, and they're all interacting. And I think the best learning that takes place here, it's just like any coaching course that I've ever gone to in the past, right? So it didn't matter if it was on the USSF side, United Soccer Coaches side, or even some of the international ones I was able to attend. The best learning takes place in the networking between the coaches, right? So the sharing of ideas and experiences, and hey, what do you have to deal with? What do you do in this situation? So yeah, there's so much to, and that in itself, you can't put a price tag on just that in itself when you attend these. So for sure. So what are you guys looking forward to the rest of the time here? Anything else in terms of whether it's field sessions, experiences up close with vendors, maybe a couple of classroom sessions? What do you kind of have highlighted on your agenda before you leave here?
I'll let you go, Coach.
I think we're trying to absorb as much as we can and select what we know that can help grow our athletes, our programs. And I think just being able to see the field session, see full drill going on what we can implement, and then also the classroom sessions as well. Things that can help our athletes in not only like the sport in itself, but mentally and prepare them. And there's some sessions that we're going to be able to go into and get ideas of how to build culture, how to build, that mindset to work hard constantly. And I think everything, like, I wish we could attend everything, but we can't. We have to select.
Right.
So we really have to focus on what is going to be best for our program.
Yeah. Coach?
What I'm excited for is the classroom sessions when we're talking about the mental mindset of the player. On my side, and I know we've actually been talking about it together. Just the issues that arise because you're still dealing with kids,
Right.
and how to address those issues that come up, how to build that culture, and even discipline in some cases. And we're pretty tight as far as a coaching program,
Right.
so we're able to have these conversations and we figure out an idea, and for the most part we're pretty successful when it comes to our culture or our program together. But to hear it from somebody else, and who probably has data to prove,
Right.
that this does work, I'm really interested in that, because the game has become teaching to the mind at this level.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I was listening to on the drive on the way up here yesterday. It was interesting because I was listening to who was it? Glenn Crooks. He has a podcast, The Coaching Academy, right on Sirius XM, and he was talking about how some of the coaches that he's interviewed recently, how much more specialized the game has become. Now, of course, this is beyond high school, right? But how much more specialized the game is becoming. Like, he's had a substitute coach on, right? A coach who just does studies strategically substitutions on when they make the recommendation to the head coach, right?
Wow.
When to substitute each player based upon the certain parameters of the game, right? What the status of the game, the situation of the game is, the player's strengths, players' weaknesses, the defensive formation of the team that they're playing against in that moment. So it's kind of trends analysis. Interesting. It was really interesting stuff. Yeah. So
That's pretty deep.
yeah, I know. I was listening to that and I was like, man, it was great stuff though. It was an interesting listen. So your time here, taking it all in, first one, what's the ultimate end goal when you get back to El Paso in terms of what you experience here, like to take back to your programs on day one back in El Paso?
For the field stuff, that we've experienced so far, it's application. We both have variations of what we've seen, but it was a little twist, and just to see how the players adapt to that twist. And then there was some, pointers on intensity and what does the defending work rate look like. So just picking up on that vocabulary, it's something I definitely wrote down on my notepad, to highlight that and make sure we're addressing that vocabulary,
Okay.
To bring that intensity up.
Yeah. Coach?
I think one of the things that I know he said right now in this first session was about being able to adapt. As a coach, you have to be able to adapt. And, whether it be how's the drill going, how to adjust, how to make adjustments, changing the numbers, maybe like from going 7v5 to maybe 6v4, and being able to adapt. And as coaches, we have to be able to do that, adapt as we're seeing something going. And if it's not working, changing it. So just a lot of the things that he was saying, and just the key components of being able to implement the drills, whatever the classroom sessions, whatever it is, like bringing it all back. And for us, try it, see what works, and, adapt and change things to make it fit what's going to fit our programs and our kids the best.
Right.
And I think that's just part of, being able to be adaptable. Like, we want our athletes, our players to be adaptable. As coaches, we have to be the same way.
Yeah.
To get the most out of what we're learning here and being able to take it back home and implement it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. What you run into any other El Paso coaches here?
Yes.
More than expected, or what you expected so far?
I think it's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
But then in talking to one of the vendors, they, made a comment that there was, another school here. And I did kind of look, but I mean, the crowd's pretty big.
Yeah. Cool. Same thing, coach?
Same thing.
About what you expected?
About the same, what I expected. And my coach said, like, they told us, oh, we just finished talking to another high school, and we're like, we didn't even see them. So it's so many people here.
Yeah.
And so that's great to see that we are getting more Paso coaches over here.
That's good.
Attending this.
Yeah, that's good. So, in speaking of El Paso, so you guys make the big dip up to 6A this year, right? In that, in that incredible, I guess, what murderers row of competition, District 1 6A. Tell us a little bit from each of your respectives, men's side, women's side. What are your thoughts going into that, into 6A, playing in 1 6A this year?
So we were 6A about 6 years ago.
It was like about 3 cycles back, right? Something like that.
2 cycles back.
Yeah.
We were 6A. And at that point, when we were 6A, we were actually a larger campus, student-wise. So it was different. And now we're the baby 6A.
Right.
So it does change the level a little bit.
Yeah.
On the boys' side, 4A is competitive in El Paso. 5A is brutal to get out of. So I'm not anticipating a huge adjustment there.
Yeah.
I think the boys are ready to slide right in. When it comes to the club players that are, they all know each other anyways. We scrimmage against 6A for the last 4 or 5 years in preparation for the season. So for the boys side, once you get out of Region 1, it's a different game, different type of schools.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
Yeah. And being Region 1 is so tough too, because you got to go through DFW, right?
Right.
And that's it's no doubt. What about you, Coach?
Even going up to 6A, I think it's just competitive. Like, no matter what district you're in, district play is very competitive. The unexpected can happen at any time. You have to be prepared no matter what. And I just see it as, it's just district play. If it's 6A, 5A, 4A, it don't matter, because you have to show up. You have to be able to come in and play hard every game, because it's just highly competitive. I think the girls' side is going to be very highly competitive. There's so many great teams in 6A. Yes, it's a different challenge, but it's something that we're looking forward to and trying to see what we can do coming up at 6A this year.
Now, you mentioned previously you all were 1 6A, right?
Yes, sir.
You've been in 5A for a while now, and now you're going back, obviously. But what would you say, or is there really, what would you say is maybe the biggest adjustment your teams will have to make, at least initially? Is it just kind of on paper? Is it more up here? Is there really a big change? What would you say? Is there one?
Right off the bat, looking at the guys, it's not a physical component. It's that mental component, because these guys weren't even in high school last time we were 6A.
Right.
So they hear the word 6A, and it becomes a mental deal there. So I everything else, the boys are ready, but getting their brain to understand that they are ready would be the biggest component there.
Do you see that they hear 6A and their eyes kind of get a little bigger? Do you see that in
conversations that we've had as a team, and as a group, that there is that like fear of the unknown. But I try to tell them, we've been scrimmaging them for the last 4 years. In preparation. We're not getting blown out of the water, we hold our own.
Yeah. Coach?
Like Coach was saying, I think the mental part of, especially with girls, like, oh, it's 6A, they have like a little fear of it. But like I tell them is, it don't matter. Every game you have to come out and play. You have to want to be competitive. Whether, yes, it's more of a challenge because in 6A we are going to have to show up with our district. It is a very strong district, and
Right.
we need to come in and play hard every single game, which is going to be something that we have to adjust to, knowing that we have to be fully prepared every single game coming into this season when district play starts. So I think it's a lot of the mental part and willing to accept that challenge, and and willing to work that hard to be competitive against all these 6A schools that we're going to be facing this year.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Well, we're going to start wrapping up here, but before we do, we always, as is customary, we like to have our guests kind of give shout outs, thank yous, final words, final thoughts, whatever's on their mind, and as it relates to, doesn't even have to be related to the game, could be related to just in our profession, our industry, what we do. Floor is yours. What would you guys like to share?
The word shout out stood out, and thank yous and stuff like that. And for me, in my journey, although I've been in soccer for a long time, at the high school level, it's minimal compared to a lot of other coaches. So I do want to give a thanks to these coaches that I've played against, because you learn a lot from your opponent. Had the opportunity to talk to grow. Coaches like Coach Enriquez has really been a strong mentor and kind of guided me on, a lot of situations and just issues that have happened, even game type strategies. We work, I feel I'm her assistant, and more than in more times than not. And she's my assistant more, she's the one I'm going to turn to unfortunately, before going to my JV coach,
Right.
and so I do want to thank these, my competitors, the ones that are in our districts and have been in our districts, because even the 5A coaches, there's that tight-knit conversations that happen with some of these coaches, and talking about programs and building programs and really trying to put El Paso, in the spotlight to bring that positive attention. But then also, I couldn't do any of this without the support of my family.
No doubt.
We're in season 4 months, and
Yeah.
most days I don't even know what what day it is. Falling asleep on the bus.
Yeah.
It's just a game after a game. But without the support of my my wife and my kids, I don't think I'd be here. I wouldn't make it 1 year.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, here's our first audio applause on the podcast. There you go. There we go. That's for the family right there, and with a shout out to Coach Enriquez there. Right. So, Coach Enriquez, how about you?
I think I want to thank everybody that have the opportunity to work with. Ever since playing club soccer, my coaches that I've had through club, through high school, through college, learning from them and wanting to do what I do now because of them. Like the mentorships that I built, the bonds that I built with coaches back home. Like Coach said, like he's the best partner in crime that I can have. We talk about everything to help our programs. We're very united in everything that we do, and I think that gives me the love and the passion I have to be coaching at El Dorado, because I have somebody that is my peer that helps me through the entire process. I also like to thank my family. My family's an entire soccer family. They coach also as well,
Right.
Back home. And then, our administration to let us be here and experience this, I think, and them supporting us to grow our knowledge and to bring it back home and giving us this opportunity. I would like to thank them as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Something to be said about that. Important for allowing you all to be here. Yeah, for sure. So awesome. He is Coach Oz Saucedo and Coach Audrey Enriquez, the head men's and women's soccer coaches of El Paso, El Dorado. Coaches, thank you again for your time. This has been absolutely great. Appreciate it. Hope the rest of your experience here at the TASCO convention is great, and maybe look forward to checking in with you guys before it's all said and done.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
again,
us.
guys.
You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.